not that type of person. That's why I was so...
Virginia Giuffre, the most prominent victim of the late convicted Jeffrey Epstein, took her own life on Thursday.
She didn't sound afraid at first. That's what makes it harder to process. Her voice was steady, almost calm, like someone who had already accepted something the rest of the world wasn't ready to hear. And then she said it. "If anything happens to me, don't let it go quiet." That wasn't a headline, that wasn't a rumor, that was a message, a real voice, a real moment. And when that voicemail started circulating, when it reached places it was never supposed to reach, one of the people who heard it and couldn't shake it off was Joe Rogan. Because out of everything he's reacted to over the years, the wild guests, the conspiracy theories, the strange stories, this one didn't get a joke. It didn't get a debate. It got silence. And that silence said everything.
The justice system failed us then. I believe they're going to do something amazing for us now. I really believe in them.
Because the woman behind that voice wasn't just another name in a long list. She was someone who had spent years trying to be heard. Someone connected to one of the darkest scandals in modern history, the world surrounding Jeffrey Epstein. And what nobody expected was how close this story would get to people no one thought to question, including Ellen DeGeneres. But here's the twist. This isn't just about what happened. It's about what was said before it happened, and who heard it but didn't know what to do next.
People found out that Ellen was mean, and all these people came out and said, Ellen's actually she lost everything. She fell apart, disappeared, because people found out that this character that she was portraying in half an hour on a television show is not really who she was.
Long before the headlines exploded, before documentaries, court documents, and public outrage, there were voices trying to break through the noise. One of them was Virginia Giuffre. Her story didn't suddenly appear. It built slowly, painfully, over years of being ignored, doubted, and pushed aside. She spoke about powerful people, about a system that didn't just protect itself, but buried anything that threatened it. And that's what made her different. She didn't just accuse one man, she described a network.
Ellen DeGeneres and wife Portia de Rossi have moved to rural England, put their Montecito estate on the market, and plan to never return to the United States, telling friends the election of Donald Trump was their primary motivation.
Now, it's important to be clear, not every name connected to Epstein was involved in wrongdoing. Being in the same social circles doesn't automatically mean guilt. But what made Virginia's story stand out was how consistent it was. The same patterns, the same environments, the same silence.
But the best one for me is Ellen DeGeneres, who is, by the way, a very nasty person. I've had dealings with her in Australia. Could I tell you some stories about that cow? But anyway, good riddance to her. But she was quite friendly with that P. Diddy bloke, wasn't she?
Well, this is why I say release the Diddy files.
Yeah.
Release the Diddy files. Come on, Donald Trump. We want to know whose name.
So maybe she's hightailing out of there before all that is thrown at her as well.
She talked about private flights, exclusive gatherings, and a world where influence mattered more than truth. A world where speaking up didn't lead to justice. It led to isolation. And still, she kept speaking. She wrote about it. She recorded her thoughts. She told people close to her that she feared something could happen, not in a dramatic way, but in a quiet, matter-of-fact tone, like someone who had already seen how these stories end. That voicemail, the one that later reached wider audiences, wasn't emotional in the way people expected. It wasn't panic. It was clarity. And that's what made it unsettling.
Mick Jagger, Courtney Love, Prince Andrew, Fergie, just people from all over the world. President Clinton, President Trump. He wasn't president at the time, but Donald Trump was in there. And just so many famous people were in there.
Because people don't usually speak like that unless they feel like they're running out of time. Now bring it back to Joe Rogan. On his platform, he's heard it all. Wild claims, deep dives, controversial opinions, that's his world. But when that voicemail was brought into conversation, something shifted. He didn't interrupt.
He didn't argue. He listened. And you could hear it in his voice afterward, that rare pause, like his mind was trying to catch up with what he had just heard. Because this wasn't theory anymore. This was a human voice, saying something final.
She looks pregnant, reacting to a photo. And the client replies back to Epstein, "You mean radiating a soft glow with the look of bliss and excitement? Yeah, that's the pizza."
And what nobody expected was how this moment would start connecting dots people weren't ready to connect. Because as discussions around Epstein resurfaced, so did conversations about the people around him. And somewhere in those conversations, a familiar name kept appearing: Ellen DeGeneres. Now, let's slow down here, because this is where things get complicated. Ellen built her entire career on one idea: kindness. It wasn't just a personality trait, it was a brand, a message, something she repeated so often it became part of how the world saw her. But over time, that image started to crack. Former employees began speaking out about what they described as a toxic workplace environment, stories about fear behind the scenes, about pressure, about silence. And suddenly, the public perception shifted. Not overnight, but enough to raise questions.
You were saying grape soda before this. I don't know if that specific combination was part of the whole Pizzagate thing, but it's definitely mentioned a lot.
Because when someone is known for being one thing and stories start suggesting the opposite, people pay attention. Now add timing into that. As Epstein-related discussions resurfaced, as names, connections, and timelines started being re-examined, Ellen stepped away from her show. Eventually, she stepped away from the spotlight entirely. Again, that doesn't prove anything.
Why did they tell us that there was all these videos of all these high-profile people and then silence, and then it never comes up once during the trial?
But patterns make people curious. And in a story already filled with unanswered questions, curiosity spreads fast. But here's where the tension really builds, because the voicemail didn't name Ellen. It didn't accuse her. What it did was remind people that the world Virginia described was bigger than one person. It was layered, complex, and deeply connected. So when Joe Rogan sat there processing that voice, it wasn't about pointing fingers. It was about realizing how much of this story still doesn't make sense, how many pieces don't fully connect, how many voices were heard too late.
But Twitch left his home the day before he took an Uber to a motel about a mile away. At the motel, he switched his phone to airplane mode so no one could reach him. The motel manager says he checked in under his own name and never left his room. We also now know that Twitch left his note. Details have not been made public, but TMZ reports the note alluded to challenges Twitch had faced in the past.
And then there's the emotional weight of it all. Because behind every headline, every podcast discussion, every viral clip, there's a person. Virginia wasn't just part of a case. She was someone who tried to rebuild her life while carrying something most people can't even imagine. She spoke about trauma, about healing, about wanting justice, not just for herself, but for others.
It was so dark. I thought the only way to make this better, this pain go away, is to end my life. Had any of those attempts happened, I would have missed the best part of my life.
And when someone like that leaves behind a message like that voicemail, it doesn't just disappear. It lingers in conversations, in interviews, in moments like the one Joe Rogan had, where everything just stops. And that's the part people don't talk about enough. The silence after.
Let's toast to you not being pregnant. If you're not pregnant, then we should. My goodness. I can't believe her.
Because once the discussions fade, once the clips stop trending, what's left? Questions. Unanswered ones. Did she feel heard? Did she feel safe? Did the system she believed in actually protect her? Those are the things that stay with you. Not the theories, not the speculation, the human side of it. The voice, the warning, the feeling that something important was said, but not fully understood in time. And maybe that's why Joe Rogan's reaction mattered, not because he had answers, but because he didn't. Because instead of turning it into entertainment, he let it sit there, heavy, unresolved. And sometimes that's more powerful than any conclusion, because it forces people to think, to question, to listen a little more carefully the next time someone speaks up.
What you're not allowed to do is have a Guantanamo Bay situation in the backstage of your show where everybody's walking around afraid for their life.
At the end of all this, no one is claiming to have the full story. Not about Epstein, not about the people connected to him, not about what every piece of evidence truly means. But what is clear is that voices like Virginia's shouldn't be ignored. Because when someone takes the risk to speak, to record, to leave behind something that might outlive them, that matters. And when those words reach someone like Joe Rogan, and even he doesn't know what to say, that tells you everything. This isn't just a story about scandal, it's a story about being heard too late, about warnings that didn't land when they should have, and about a world that still hasn't fully answered for what happened inside it. So the real question isn't just what happened, it's this. If another voice like that speaks tomorrow, will people listen differently? Or will it become just another moment that fades into silence?
It took all of these people turning a blind eye, which they weren't blind to, because we were right there blatantly in front of them. They knew exactly what was going on.
Because here's the part that stays with you. Long after the podcast clips stop circulating, long after the headlines fade, long after people move on to the next story, that voicemail doesn't go away. It sits there, unfinished, unanswered. And the more you think about it, the heavier it gets. Because this wasn't someone chasing attention. This wasn't someone trying to go viral. This was a woman who had already spent years being ignored, finally leaving behind something that couldn't be interrupted, twisted, or dismissed in real time. Her own voice, her own words. And somehow, even that wasn't enough to bring immediate clarity. That's the part that should bother people. Not just what she said, but what happened after she said it. Because look at the pattern. People speak up, and the world reacts for a moment. There's outrage, there's discussion, there's deep dives and theories and debates. But then, slowly, it fades. And the people at the center of it, they're left behind in the silence. That's what makes this different from just another internet story. This isn't entertainment. It only feels that way because it's being consumed through screens, through clips, through conversations that start and end in minutes. But for the people living it, there is no off switch. And when Joe Rogan sat there listening, not reacting the way people expected, not turning it into something loud or exaggerated, it created a rare moment where the noise stopped, where people had to actually hear what was being said. And maybe that's what made it uncomfortable. Because when everything slows down like that, you can't hide behind distraction anymore. You're left with the reality of it. A voice that believed something might happen, a system that didn't fully respond in time, and a world that's still trying to piece together what it all means. Now bring it back to the bigger picture. The names, the connections, the timelines, they'll keep being debated. People will keep arguing about who knew what, who was involved, who wasn't. That part isn't going away anytime soon. But underneath all of that, there's a simpler truth that gets lost. Someone tried to warn people, and that warning didn't land the way it should have. That's not about conspiracy. That's about attention, about how quickly serious things can get buried under entertainment, under skepticism, under the constant need for something new. And that's where this story hits hardest. Because it forces a question most people don't like to sit with. How many times has this happened before, without a voicemail, without proof, without something that forces people to stop and listen? How many voices never reached a platform? How many warnings disappeared before anyone even noticed? That's the uncomfortable side of this. Not just what we know, but what we might have missed. And maybe that's why this moment, Joe Rogan hearing that voicemail, feels bigger than it should on the surface, because it represents something rare, a pause, a break in the cycle, a moment where instead of rushing to react, someone just listened. And in that listening, something changed. Not the facts, not the outcome, but the way people felt about it. Because once you hear something like that, really hear it, you don't process these stories the same way again. They stop being distant. They stop being abstract. They become real. And that changes everything. So as this story continues to be discussed, debated, analyzed from every angle, don't lose sight of the simplest part. A voice was left behind. A message was given. And whether the world fully understood it or not, it was real. And maybe the most powerful thing we can take from all of this isn't another theory or another breakdown or another viral clip. Maybe it's just this. Next time someone speaks, don't wait for a voicemail to prove they were serious. Listen the first time, because not every voice gets a second chance to be heard, and not every story leaves behind something we can rewind. This one did, and even now, it still hasn't fully been answered. And maybe that's the part that should stay with you the longest. Not the headlines, not the theories, not even the names that keep getting pulled into the conversation, but that voice, that final message, the feeling that someone tried to say something important before it was too late. Because when you strip everything else away, this isn't just another viral story. It's not just content to scroll past. It's a reminder of how easy it is for real voices to get lost in a world that moves too fast to listen. She didn't whisper for attention, she spoke because she believed it mattered. And somewhere between the noise, the debates, and the endless speculation, that simple truth got buried. But here's what nobody can ignore anymore. Moments like that don't just disappear. They sit with you. They come back when the conversation slows down. They make you question things you didn't question before. And they force you to look at these stories differently, not as entertainment, but as something real, something unfinished. Because the truth is, we may never get every answer. We may never fully understand what happened behind closed doors, or who knew what, or why certain things unfolded the way they did. But we do know this: a warning was given, and it deserved to be heard. So the real question isn't just about what happened back then, it's about what happens next. Will people start listening sooner? Will voices like hers finally be taken seriously the first time? Or will it take another message, another moment, another loss, before attention finally turns to action? That's the part you're left with. Not closure, but responsibility. Because stories like this don't end when the video ends. They carry on in how people respond, how they think, and how they choose to listen moving forward. And maybe, just maybe, that's where the real change begins. If this story made you feel something, if it made you stop and think even for a second, don't just move on. Drop your thoughts in the comments below. I want to know what you think, because these conversations matter more than ever right now. And if you believe stories like this deserve to be heard, not ignored, not buried, then make sure you like this video, subscribe to the channel, and stay with us for what comes next, because this isn't the end of the story, not even close.